Hello, this is Brian Shannon from AlphaTrends.net. Today is Friday, the 29th of August, 2008, and I want to talk about a trade setup I see developing here. And I've got a very small exposure to this trade right now, but I'm planning on hopefully adding a lot more to it as the price confirms what I'm thinking here with the stock. The name of the company is Yingli Green Energy. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but that's not the important point here. The symbol is YGE. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange, and this is a solar company based out of China. You can see that the stock has been up on some real big volume in here recently, and doing so, it got back above all these moving averages, the 10, 20, and 50 in particular. Now, the stock is consolidated here just for about 3 or 4 days on real diminished volume. So relative to the advanced, the volume on this pullback is much lighter, and that's a bullish sign that leads me to believe that when the buyers come back in, this stock could really get going to the upside. Let's take a look at a couple of the reasons I think the stock can get going pretty significantly from here. Let me just resize this chart. This is just something I drew to kind of put some perspective to the short interest numbers. And let me show the short interest table first. The number of shares sold short and not yet covered is reported every 2 weeks by the brokerage firms to the regulatory bodies, and then between 3 to 7 business days later, that information is reported to the public. So it's always going to be a little bit stale, but we can look at the trends of the short interest and try to determine where those short sellers have sold short, where they might run into some trouble if the stock starts getting away from them. So if we just take a look at this point right here from April 15th, as of April 15th, there were 6.4 million shares that had been sold short and not yet covered. The prior reporting period was March 31st, and there were 5.4 million. So you can see that there were about 1 million shares added during this period right here. And this right here, this number 2050, that's what's known as the VWAP, the volume weighted average price during that period. So that would be right here. The average price during that period was $20.50 during the time that I just mentioned, which was April 30th to, March 30th to April 15th. So we can see the trend in here, and we can start to develop a feel for where these people are in trouble. And I'm seeing that the stock is starting to move here a little bit. I want to be involved in this in a greater way than I am right now. What I'm going to do is go ahead and buy some call options. So we're going to look at the, let's see, the 17.5s of September. So these expire basically in 3 weeks. Here's a chart of them. You can see I'm long 5 of them I bought yesterday at 95 cents. What I want to do is go in and buy another 10. So what I'm going to do is try and see if I can split the bid and the offer and pay $1.10 for these options. So you can see I've got a bid and I was filled. So a lot of times you see that spread $1.05 to $1.15 doesn't mean you've got to pay $1.15. So I've got some call options in the stock. Let's go back to the equity itself, and you can see here, let me just change the scale. Let's go down to a 30-minute time frame, in fact, and you can see in here that here's where we had seen that rally and now the subsequent pullback. It's encouraging to me to see that the 5-day moving average is still advancing. The stock hasn't quite triggered a buy yet. What I think triggers a buy, that means where the buyers really regain the upward momentum, is to break to a higher high in here. You can see that we had this run up, the stock had pulled back, it's made this higher low as of yesterday, and now it's got this little level of resistance that will need to be overcome before the buyers can really be considered in control of the stock. So that's why I've decided to purchase some call options rather than go into the individual equity. Of course, today is the day before a long holiday as well, so I don't think there's a great odds that we're going to see trending opportunity, but a lot of times, prior to a holiday when we have lighter trading, that can actually be beneficial to the stocks that are moving because they'll get an exaggerated move as more people are attracted to what's actually working that day. So I want to have some exposure. I don't want to chase the stock here. Looking at this 10-minute time frame, realistically I think it's got to get above this 1750 level. Above 1750, that's when it really begins to go. So I've established some exposure here with 15 of these call options. They give me the right to buy it at 17 and a half as of the third Friday in September. So that's basically 3 weeks from today. My feeling is that that's going to give me plenty of time for this stock to potentially continue to move higher. I'm thinking that it can go probably up towards this level right here, this prior support back in mid-April that became resistance in June, and that's close to where we see the declining 200-day moving average come into play as well. That's actually at about the $21 level. If the stock were to get up towards that level, then that would put these call options worth $3.50 each. So obviously a very nice percentage move, and I'm going to be trading the individual equity as well if it gives me what I think is good reason. Let's go back to my chart here with the this is something I put together yesterday. So you can see in here that this is where, basically this number up here, and I don't know if that's quite in range. Let me pull it down a little bit. So this 4.8 million shares means that between April or March 31st basically and this period right here, June 31st, the shorts added 4.8 million shares. They added another 8.3 million shares. I think this is more important between July 1st and August 15th. You can see that right now with the stock at $17.35, right around where it is, that the average price at these shorts, for instance, if we take the average price during this period, it was $14.83. That was the volume weighted average price. The shorts added 5.4 million shares, so they were getting a little bit cocky as the stock started dropping. They added another 2.2 million shares at an average of 1638 and another 700,000 at about 1573. Now we don't know how many of those shorts covered in this big volume surge in here, or maybe they added to it. So short interest is always a little bit stale, and we have to do a little bit of guesswork to really try to determine what those numbers are. But when you look at the overall number here of 18.5 million shares short this stock, and then you start looking at some fundamental issues, which I'm going to pull up right in a moment. And here we're just looking at some headlines, which is really more than enough, I think, to get an overall feel of what's happening with this company. Reports second quarter results, and revenues increased 120% over the same quarter in 2007 and 24.6% over 2008. So it looks to me like their growth is increasing. They've got all kinds of good things they're saying in here. Another thing is that if you go back to the main news page here, and what I'll look at is Finviz, F-I-N-V-I-Z, is a great site. You see that just looking at the headlines, they plan to construct a China solar plant. So they're building a new solar plant. So this is a growth industry, obviously, with the Barack's speech last night talking about solar and alternative energy. It's a strong group to be in. A lot of the Chinese companies like LDK have reported earnings recently that triggered a real nice rally. This is another Chinese solar play, as is STP. STP, just change that. You can see that these stocks have had some real big rallies. YGE right now, for whatever reason, hasn't really begun to show that strong momentum. But as this group gets more attention, I think that more people are going to find this, and this stock has the potential to really get up and go here. So I'm looking for a move, hopefully up towards that 21 level in the next few weeks. And the shorts, if they panic, could provide the real buying power that pushes this stock dramatically higher. 18 million shares have been sold short and not covered. And you can see the stock is strengthening a little bit further in here. It's getting up to that 5-day moving average and some potential resistance. If the stock runs from here, I would prefer it doesn't, because I want to own a lot of stock at a good price, but I have some call options right now, which you can see are bid 110, offered at 120, so they're starting to move a little bit. But I think there's a bigger picture trade setting up here, and holding the call options is definitely what I plan on doing. I plan on holding these for at least a week or two, I'm thinking, unless the stock starts breaking down. And right now, at this point, which is about $16.75, that's about where I would say maybe my timing is off. Maybe the shorts are right in this trade. But if it's to break below this level, then I'm going to get out of it and move on to something else. So I'm going to update this a little bit further. It's not going to, I don't think we're going to see this trade through the end on this video, but as I come up with a little bit more information, I'll update this video. Okay, well, you can see the stock is running away right here, so I'm happy to be in some call options. Obviously, I wish I had a bunch of the stock. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for this stock to hopefully pull back. Looks like it's making a run for daily R2. If it can then pull back on light volume relative to what it's rallying on here this morning, then I'm going to likely get involved in the stock, because I think this one has the potential to, like I said, really get up and go. You can see that the call options are starting to show some signs of life in here, and we've got a $1.25 bid, $1.35 offered, so I own 5 of them at 95 cents and another 10 at $1.10. So I've got some breathing room in those options, but really, if this stock can get going to where I'm hoping it can, which is again up near that $21 level, then we could really have a nice winner here. And as I said, the solar group has been real strong. In fact, what I had just done was purchase some SOL, which is another solar play, and I don't know why the order's not showing up there, but I just bought it here at 1887 right here. So you can see that this stock is consolidating on light volume, and looks like it's getting ready to go again on a daily time frame. It actually looks better than YGE does, because we've got it above all these rising moving averages, and it's consolidating in a nice tight range. And maybe this, this is foreshadowing what YGE will look like. Either way, the solar plays are obviously pretty, remain pretty strong in here. I'm long 1,000 of SOL. There's a lot of these other stocks I'm going to go look at right now, and I've got to stop recording because this market is moving too quick in these solars that I need to pay attention to those. In fact, I'm going to wrap this video up because, like I said, this market is moving in a lot of different directions here with these solar plays in particular, and it is that holiday shortened week coming up next week, and I think today's trading is going to really dramatically slow down here soon, so I want to be paying attention to it. But the concepts that this trade are based on are, one, it's a company with what appears to be good fundamentals in a strong group. It's not only strong fundamentally from an earnings standpoint, new growth in terms of a new plant, that sort of thing, but it's politically correct right now, and we're in the political season, so it's time to be looking at these types of plays. And the market, this group has been strong. If you take a look, you can see this YGE strengthening here as we speak, as is this SOL. So hopefully I can get this video in your hands that in a quick enough time that you can actually participate in these trades as well. And hopefully I'll have the discipline to hold on to this winning trade in the options, and then not only that, but add some common shares on a pullback in here. If you're unfamiliar with the short squeeze concept, it's something I wrote extensively about in my book, and that's available at technicalanalysisbook.com. Thanks for listening.